Hey everybody, Charles for HumbleMechanic.com. Today, we're talking fuels and Ferraris. This is episode 153 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. I had the absolute pleasure of attending the annual Ferrari Club of America meet in Ohio. And what an incredible event. You know, it was great to see all these really amazing, beautiful, rare, priceless cars actually drive into Ohio for the meetup. And I love that that was the spirit of so many of these Ferrari owners. I got to the hotel just in time for a Shell Fuels talk. They went over the relationship between Shell and Ferrari, talked a lot about fuel. She actually said that 99% of the fuel is actually the same. It's that 1%, the 1% where the magic really does happen, and that separates a low quality fuel from a top tier high quality fuel. I did a whole video about Shell V-Power Nitro Plus where we go deep about the fuel. I'll be sure to link that up for you to check it out. We also watched a video about carbon buildup on backs of the valves and how that can actually absorb fuel. The carbon acts basically like a sponge, and that can really tweak out air-fuel ratios. You'll see that the valve covered in carbon and then soaked in fuel burns quite a bit longer than the valve without any carbon. We also talked about the Trackside Lab. This is the mobile unit that they take to all the F1 races where they analyze fuel and oil throughout the entire race weekend, not only to monitor the health of the car, but to see where they can make improvements for the future. Once the talk was done, I walked out into the lobby and saw the 1952 Ferrari Special, or I'm sure it's probably called the Ferrari Speciale. This was the only year that Ferrari actually entered a car in the Indy 500. The hotel, as you can imagine, was full of Ferrari decor, from this prancing horse statue made out of car parts, ice sculptures, and vendors selling Ferrari swag. I sat back and watched the Skidmark show do some really cool interviews with Ferrari owners and some of the judges. After walking around in the lobby for a while, I went out to the back lot, and this, my friends, is where the good stuff was. This is like Ferrari heaven. Everything the car nerd could really want. Old cars, new cars, race cars, vintage race cars, Testarossas, 308s, Mondials. Whatever your flavor of Ferrari is, it was probably there. This event was built around the 275, and it was neat to see all of the different 275s on the concourse and at the lot of the hotel. I also did a Facebook Live showing some of these amazing Ferraris, cars worth millions of dollars, and some really don't even have a value you can assign to it. And everyone I talked to, all of the owners, were all incredibly cool, you know, really nerding out about different Ferraris, rare stuff, you know, everyday stuff, if you can call any of these cars everyday stuff. Whether it was a vintage race car or a brand new 2016, it was cool to kind of nerd out about cars with these guys. The next day moved to the concourse. This was a beautiful backdrop of an amazing golf course, and it was all about show this day. And there were more cars on the concourse than there was at the hotel. I think the total number was about 160 cars. One of the great things they do here at the concourse is they do judging. Now, this isn't your air ride and big wheels kind of judging. This kind of judging is very intense. I had a chance to chat with one of the judges about some of the things that they do, some of the things that they talk about during the judging process. And I watched a lot of different judgings of vehicles. They look at everything. Does everything work? Horn, turn signals, lights. How much of the vehicle is original from the factory? They're going down to the screw. Is this screw the correct screw that came on this vehicle when it rolled off the production line? They want to see it as original as possible. Spare tires. How OEM is it? Was it modified in any way? They're looking for all the original equipment, floor mats, toolkit, brochures, anything that might have come with this car. These are the kind of things they're looking for. So you could have a perfectly restored vehicle, and it may actually not get as many points as a car that on first look doesn't look so awesome, but is still true, is still all original. It was interesting to watch that type of judging versus what a lot of newer car shows or, you know, more common car shows really do, where they're either looking for go or they're looking for flash. They're not looking for period correct or OEM correct type things, at least not even close to the level that these Ferrari judges are looking at. And imagine how well these judges have to know these cars in order to look at a screw and go, hey, that's not the right screw that came in this 1953 Ferrari. This silver car was actually pulled out of a ravine in Venezuela where it sat for 25 years. The guy said he found it with no glass, no brightware. They did a full restoration, and what a beautiful example of what you can take a car from being pulled out of a ravine and make it into. And of course, the F40s, the F50s, the full-on race cars, the stuff that, kids have posters of on their wall. It's just such an experience to have all of these all in one place. You don't really want to touch on any of these cars, but boy, is it cool to get up close and personal with them. Monday was the Shell-sponsored drive. Eric and Zeph of the Ohio chapter of the Ferrari Club of America organized two different drives, a shorter track and a longer track. And this was really cool because they would tell you turn left at mile 1, turn right at mile 3. At mile 6, there is a landmark that you really want to check out. So not only is it a really cool structured drive, but we got to answer car questions along the way. Ron and I didn't do very well. I give Ron most of the credit. I kind of bombed on a lot of the answers, but it was really neat to have a driver and a co-pilot doing this challenge with other drivers and trying to answer the questions, see all of the sights to see, as well as enjoying a beautiful drive. Ron and I drove in his 458, which was such an amazing car. It wasn't really about going fast. It was about the drive, the ride, the experience. And Ron did get on it once, and holy crap, what a fast car. That drive ended at Mid-Ohio Racetrack, where some of the cars got on the track. Ron actually had his car checked for track day, which was the following day. And to see this line of Ferraris, this is not something you're ever gonna see anywhere else. This is probably something I'll never see again in my life. The final day was a drive out to a little town in Ohio. Unfortunately, due to my schedule, I was in a sweet Nissan Altima, but it was great because they closed the street down so all the Ferraris could park there. Awesome to see all these amazing, beautiful sports cars roll into this tiny little town, and to watch how people really freak out and go nuts over these cars, and so many people taking pictures. I mean, I was too, don't get me wrong. People taking pictures and really being able to see these cars that they've only seen on TV or seen in pictures or seen online right there live in person. All in all, this was an amazing experience, an amazing weekend around a bunch of beautiful cars. I met a ton of great people. And again, it's so cool. It's so cool to see how people go nuts over these cars, and rightfully so. These are some of the most beautiful cars in the world. All right, it's time for shoutouts. Shell, thank you guys so much for bringing me out. It was an amazing event. I really appreciate it. Ferrari Club of America, you guys are so cool. Thanks for being so welcoming and inviting a non-Ferrari driver into the group for the weekend and letting me hang out and be part of the event. Special shout out to Eric and Zeph for organizing an incredibly cool, fun, interesting, interactive drive. I've actually been thinking since then, maybe we should do a Humble Mechanic meetup and drive. Let me know what you guys think of that. Ron, Mandy, and Harry from Sport Dimensions, it was great to see you guys again. Thanks for your hospitality. And finally, shout out to my man, Ron. Thanks for letting me tag along in your 458, man. It was really great to meet you. Fun to hear your Ferrari story, how you came into your Ferrari that you have now, as well as the first one that you got. So I really appreciate that. All right, guys, hey, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Questions, comments, you know what to do. If you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, and of course on Snapchat. All right, guys, hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.